we'll now take a look at the C++ programming language. And we've seen some examples of this already. This is basically the C programming language, but now we add some more high-level components to it. We actually add some object-oriented parts to it. Now, we won't see that particular part in our example, but what we find here is that anything that we can do in C, we can do in C++. And we'll find that the syntax for input and output are a little bit different as well. So if we go on our site here, we can find C++, C++0x, C++11. I'm going to use the newest one, so I'm going to use C++ right here. So we'll click on that. And there we go. I'm going to move this down just a little bit. So we have our Hello World example here, and we see some differences, and we saw this in the example from the last lecture, the include IO stream using namespace std. So that takes care of inputting, or importing I should say, some of the main operations, and it also allows us for using the appropriate scope rules for some of the things in here. In the cout hello world, that prints hello world. So I can click on compile, we'll click on execute, and there we go, there's hello world. So that does print hello world. So now let's rewrite this to do the example that we did before, inputting two integers, taking the sum, and then outputting it. So let's go ahead and get rid of this line. So this part right here looks no different than our C example, int main and return 0. So we can use, like I said, anything that we can do in C, we can do in C++. So if I want to declare two integers, or three integers in this case, I can do that by doing int and then a comma b comma sum. Now the way I do input and output is I'm going to use these operators cout and cin, which work just like input and output. It's just done a little bit differently. So if I want to output something, I would do cout, and then I would put in two less than signs, and then I could put in quotes what I want to print. So in this case, I would do enter a colon, and then I still end with a semicolon. And then to do input, I can do cin, and then two greater than symbols, and then I can put in the variable that I want to store. So in this case, it would be a. So I notice here that I didn't have to specify the data types. I didn't need to use next int to say I'm going to input an integer. I didn't have to use placeholders to specify I'm inputting an integer. I just to say, here's the variable that I want to put in. And we're going to assume that the user is competent enough to input an integer and not a double or a float or a string when we're expecting an integer. And then we'll do cout. And then to do the new line character, well, I could do the quotes and then a /n, but in C++, it actually makes more sense to use what's called end L, which does the exact same thing. This stands for end line. So you can do end L or you can do /n. Either one is okay, but this is basically saying print the new line character. So let's do the same thing for B. So I'm going to do cout and then enter, oops, forgot the capital E, there we go, enter B colon, and then I'll do cin B, and then I'll do cout and L. All right, so now I've input my A and I've entered my B using the cout and cin statement. So to do the sum is no different than what we've done in Java or C. So I can say sum equals A plus B. And then to print, I would use my cout again, and then two less than symbols. Now I can use the approach very similar to what I did in Java. The only difference is instead of using plus signs to concatenate the string, I'm going to use more of the two less than symbols. So I'm going to say in quotes the sum of, and then instead of doing a plus sign, I'm going to do two less than symbols, and I can say A, and then two more less than symbols. So this just is very similar to Java, except I'm using these two less than signs instead of a plus. And then I can put in quotes and notice I put the space before and after the and just to make sure that it looks correct when I do the output. And then two more less than symbols, and then B, two more less than symbols, quotes, space is, another space, two more less than symbols, and then I can do sum, two more less than symbols, and then I need my new line characters, so I can do end L, and then a semicolon. So this, sure enough, will say the sum of whatever A is, and whatever B is whatever the sum is. So notice this is actually, I think, it's a little bit easier to understand than having to remember the placeholders and the order. So that's one of the nice things about C++ is it still has all the low-level stuff that C had, but it has some more of the high-level stuff that we can use like we do in Java. Let's go and compile and run this to make sure that everything here works properly. So I'll click on compile. No compile errors, that's good. So we'll click on execute. So it says here enter A. So I'll hit 5 and enter. Enter B. We'll do 6 again. Hit enter. And sure enough, the sum of 5 and 6 is 11. So by now we pretty much know that 5 plus 6 is 11, but this is how we do it in C++. We'll now look at how we would implement our example program using the C# programming language. What we're going to find with this is even though it has the word C in the name, it's not really close to the C programming language or even close to C++. C# is a Microsoft-based language that's actually more similar to object-oriented languages like Java. So we need to find the online IDE for that, so that would be right here. So we'll open this up. Took a little longer, but that's fine. And here is our C# program. I'll pull this down here just a little bit. So this is an example of using the or implementing the Hello World program. So we'll notice some similarities with Java in that there is a class and a name. So in this case, it's called program. There is a static void method called main. We don't have to worry about public or private. We don't have to worry about string args inside the parentheses. And our output statement is console.writeLine. So this is similar to system.out.println or using printf with an endline character or new line character in there. And what we put inside the parentheses is hello world. The using system.io, using system, those are the import components. That way we don't have to do like system.console. So if I were to compile and run this, so compile, we'll execute, and sure enough, this does print hello world. So let's rewrite this program to have the user input two integers, take the sum, and print out the sum of those two integers. And what we're going to find here is the way it's done, at least from a high-level perspective, is very similar. It's just we're going to be using some different methods on how to handle the input and the output. So the first thing we need to do is to declare our variables. And fortunately, declaring variables is the same as all the other languages so far. So I can do int a, comma, b, comma, sum. And then we would ask the user to enter a. So we would do console dot, and I'm going to do write, because write line would have the thing print on the next line. Here I want to have everything just on one line, nothing on a brand new line just yet for the input. So I'll do my parentheses, and inside here I will do enter a colon. Now the input part is going to be a little different. So if I want to do any input, I would use the method console dot read line. So this will have the user actually read something, but now I need to make sure that it's going to be stored as an integer. So in Java we used nextInt. In C we would use placeholders. But here we have to actually specify that we want this to be an integer. So what we're going to do is we're going to take our input and convert it into an integer. So what we're going to do is beforehand I'm going to have the method convert dot to int, where the T and the I are capitalized, and then 3, 2, an open parenthesis, and then all the way to the end of the line, but before the semicolon, I'm going to have another closed parenthesis. So this convert.toInt32, this is a method where whatever is inside of here is going to be converted into a 32-bit integer. So we went over different bits before, so this is an integer that would take 32 bits to store it. There are 64-bit integers, but right now we're just worried about 32-bit integers. So what this is saying is we're going to have the user enter something with this read line, console.readLine, and then it's going to get converted into a 32-bit integer. And then finally, we need to store this integer into a variable. So this is where I can say a equals convert dot to int32 console dot read line. So this whole line here will take care of reading in an integer. If I wanted to store a double, I'd have to use an equivalent method for doubles, or if I want to do characters and so forth. But we have to do the appropriate conversion methods to make this work. And then right afterwards, I'm going to do console.writeLine just to make sure that the next thing gets printed on a new line. So now we can do the same thing for B. So we can do console.write, enter B. Oops, too much. There we go. Oh, no, something's not right here. I think this extra curly brace got added. No, that was right. Okay, there we go. Had to make sure. There we go. Semicolon. There we go. Just had to make sure that I was putting in the right syntax. So then we would have B equals convert to int32 console.readLine semicolon, then console.writeLine. And then to compute our sum, the way we would evaluate it is the same as other languages. So I can say sum equals A plus B. And then for my output, fortunately, the way this is done is actually almost identical to how it's done in Java. So I can say console.writeLine, and then whatever I put here in quotes would be my output. So I can say the sum of, and then here's where I use the same thing as in Java. So I could do plus A plus quote and plus B, oops, plus there is plus sum. So this is the exact same approach that we used in Java. So string concatenation in C# uses the plus sign just like how we use it to concatenate strings in Java. So let's make sure that this works. So I'm going to compile, make sure there aren't any errors. There are no compile errors. So now I'm going to execute. So we enter A, so we'll enter 5, hit enter. We'll enter B, so we'll enter a 6 for B. And sure enough, the sum of 5 and 6 is 11. So this does compute the sum of two integers that were input by the user, and it outputs the sum. So this is how we do it in C#.